68 degrees. That's where this room landed on a day that started pushing 80. No air conditioner, no power bill, nothing running but a tired little oscillating fan and 2 frozen water bottles. I stood in the doorway the first time it worked and actually laughed because it shouldn't have worked that well and it cost me nothing. Today, I'll show you how to turn any basic fan into a real room cooler, why it actually works, because it's not the reason you think, and the one kitchen shelf trick that makes the cold last about 50% longer. A window AC unit runs you $200 to $300 and spins your meter all summer long. This runs on 2 bottles, and a freezer you're already paying to keep cold. Stick with me to the end, because there's a way to set this up so it pulls the humidity right out of the air on top of the heat. And dry air is the thing that actually makes a room feel cool. I've run this through 2 brutal summers in a back room my AC was never going to reach, and I genuinely don't dread that room in July anymore. By the time we're done, you're going to want to raid your recycling bin and start freezing bottles tonight. Fair warning. So let's start with the part that makes this more than a gimmick, because almost everyone has the science exactly backwards. A fan, on its own, does not lower the temperature of a room, not by a single degree. All it does is move air around. The reason a fan feels good is that the moving air speeds up the sweat evaporating off your skin, and that evaporation is what carries heat away from you. Leave a fan running in an empty room and come back an hour later. Same temperature, sometimes a hair warmer, because the motor itself gives off heat. The fan was never cooling the room. It was cooling you, and quietly lying about the rest. Now strap a block of ice into that airstream and the whole game changes. The air being shoved across those frozen bottles dumps its heat into the cold surface as it passes. That's real heat leaving the air, not a wind trick on your skin. Your fan is suddenly working 2 jobs at once, still speeding the evaporation off your body, but now also dragging warm room air across something freezing, over and over, shedding a little heat on every single pass. That's why the thermometer actually drops. You've taken a fan that only ever fooled you into feeling cooler and turned it into one that's genuinely pulling heat out of the room. And once you watch that number fall with your own eyes, you'll get why I couldn't stop telling people about it. There's a second thing happening that nobody bothers to point at. The surface of that frozen bottle sits well below the dew point of the room, so the moisture floating in your air condenses right onto it, the same way a glass of ice water sweats on a hot afternoon. That dripping you'll see isn't the bottle leaking. That water came out of your air. You're dehumidifying the room at the same time you're cooling it, and lower humidity means your own sweat evaporates faster, which means you feel cooler than the number on the wall even claims. In a sticky, muggy climate, that hidden second job is honestly the bigger win. Here's how you actually build it, and the setup matters more than people give it credit for. You want an oscillating standing fan, not a fixed one. That's deliberate, and I'll tell you why in a second. Take 2 1-liter bottles or bigger, leave a thumb of air at the top so they don't split as they freeze, and freeze them rock solid. Then fasten them to the back of the fan, behind the cage, so the fan pulls air across the ice before it blows it into the room. A couple of zip ties or a little wire basket clipped on does it. This is a 5-minute job, not a project. Slide a towel underneath, because remember, all that condensation has to land somewhere. The oscillation is the quiet genius of the thing. A fixed fan fires 1 cold column at one chair and ignores the rest of the room. An oscillating fan sweeps that chilled, dried air in a slow arc across the whole space. So you're conditioning the entire room instead of one lucky cushion on the couch. Same ice, same bit of electricity, dramatically more of the room actually getting cold. It's the difference between a spotlight and sunrise. Now the trick I promised, and this is the upgrade the viral versions barely mention. Before you freeze those bottles, stir about a 1/4 cup of plain table salt into the water. Salt water freezes at a lower temperature than plain water. That's freezing point depression. The exact same reason we throw salt on icy roads in winter. Plain ice sits at 32 degrees and starts surrendering the moment the warm room touches it. Salted ice can hold several degrees colder than that, which means a bigger temperature gap with the room, which means it pulls heat harder and lasts noticeably longer before it melts through. You get roughly half. Again, as much cold out of the very same bottle. The only price is patience. Salty water takes longer to freeze, so set it up the night before and forget about it. Let me clear up 2 things people get wrong, because both will quietly rob you. The first, you'll see folks just plonk a bowl of loose ice in front of the fan and call it a day. You can, but it's the sad version. Loose cubes have less cold surface meeting the air, the meltwater pools in the bowl and insulates whatever ice is left, and you've built yourself a puddle for nothing. A sealed bottle gives you one big smooth cold face sitting right in the air path, zero mess, and you refreeze that exact same bottle tonight and tomorrow and all summer. Same physics, none of the misery. The second one matters more, and I'd rather shoot straight with you than oversell it. This will not replace central air, and it is not cooling your whole house. It can't. There's no compressor pumping heat out a window, just a finite block of cold slowly melting into one space. What you've actually got is a tool for a single closed room, somewhere around a 12 by 15, for a few hours at a stretch. Shut the door, pull the blinds against the sun, and inside that little box, it punches way above what 2 frozen bottles have any right to. Walk in expecting a machine that chills the whole upstairs, and you'll be disappointed. Treat it as the fix for the one stubborn room the AC always forgets. The office, the nursery, the bedroom over the garage, and you'll quietly wonder how you sweated through so many summers without it. And now the part I'm actually excited to give you, because this is where it goes from a neat trick to something you'll use every single day. Run 2 sets of bottles, one pair working in the fan while the next pair refreezes, and rotate them every few hours, and the cold basically never stops. That alone turns a few-hour fix into an all-day one. But here's the bonus on top of that bonus. Don't pour out the meltwater in the morning. That's already chilled water that takes far less energy to refreeze than room temperature water from the tap, so your freezer barely notices the job. The system quietly gets cheaper the longer you run it. Then go one step further. Tuck a sheet of foam or even a folded towel against the room side of the bottles so the cold gets thrown forward into the airstream instead of leaking out the back into the wall. It's a scrap of insulation doing the work of a second bottle for free. And one last little upgrade nobody talks about. Drop a few drops of peppermint or eucalyptus oil onto that towel under the fan. It does nothing to the temperature, but menthol actually trips the cold receptors on your skin, so the room feels a few degrees cooler than it measures. Your brain gets fooled in the nicest possible way. Cheap, optional, and weirdly delightful on a hot night. So that's the whole thing. A fan you already own, 2 bottles of water, a pinch of salt for the long haul, and a room that finally backs down in July. The science was never complicated. It's just heat leaving the air one pass at a time, with the humidity quietly going along for the ride. The only real question is which room in your place you're going to rescue first. If there's one room that the AC never quite reaches, send this to whoever's stuck sweating in it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.